We start the day's other headlines in the UK. London's Heathrow Airport has resumed some flights tonight after a massive fire at an electrical substation cut power to the airport. That threw travel plans for hundreds of thousands of people up in the air.
It's just lots of confusion and we don't know, no one really knows what's going on.
Authorities at Europe's busiest airports say they will prioritize bringing back stranded passengers who'd been diverted to other airports. They hope to return to full operation on Saturday. In all, more than 1,300 flights were disrupted in the unprecedented standstill, affecting at least 200,000 passengers. British Airways, the largest carrier at Heathrow, says the trickle-down effects of those disruptions will take time to iron out.
This is an unprecedented situation, and we have not seen a closure of Heathrow on this scale for many years. Unfortunately, it will have a huge impact on all of our customers flying with us over the coming days.
An investigation into what caused the fire is underway. It took 7 hours to control the blaze. Officials have said that no foul play is suspected and no injuries were reported. President Trump laid out plans today to transfer some of the responsibilities of the Department of Education to other agencies. This comes a day after he signed an executive order aimed at dismantling the department. For one, the Small Business Administration would oversee federal student loans. That portfolio covers about $1.6 trillion in loans involving roughly 43 million borrowers. It comes on the same day the administration announced plans to cut the SBA's workforce by more than 40%. The president also suggested the Department of Health and Human Services would take over programs for students with disabilities. In the Middle East, Israel's defense minister ordered troops to push further into Gaza today, vowing to hold more land until Hamas releases the rest of its hostages. The Israeli military already took back part of a key corridor that bisects Gaza after restarting the war earlier this week. Forces have since moved toward cities in the far north and south. Residents of those areas worry that the renewed offensive will force them to leave their homes again.
The mere idea of returning to displacement is difficult. To live in tents, your private life becomes public for everyone. You get fear and anxiety. You don't know your neighbors or where your life is heading.
In the meantime, in Israel, the Supreme Court halted the firing of the country's domestic security chief, Ronen Bar, until an appeal can be heard. It came hours after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet unanimously approved the dismissal. Critics of Barr's firing joined anti-war protesters outside of Netanyahu's residence today, saying his attempted removal is a politically motivated power grab by the prime minister. Russia and Ukraine say that attacks are continuing even after the parties agreed in principle this week to a limited ceasefire. Ukrainian officials say Russian drones hammered the Black Sea port city of Odessa overnight, injuring at least 3 people and causing massive fires. A local official said the city suffered, quote, local emergency power outages, suggesting that energy infrastructure had been hit. In the meantime, Russia accused Ukraine of blowing up a gas facility in Russia's Kursk region. Ukraine denied any responsibility. Sudan's military says it has retaken the country's former seat of government in the capital city of Khartoum. Sudanese soldiers celebrated the victory today outside the Republican Palace after 2 years of fighting with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. The victory is a big step towards retaking all of Khartoum, though the RSF still controls much of western Sudan, including most of the Darfur region. The nearly 2-year conflict has produced what the UN calls the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Around half of the country's population suffers from acute hunger. On Wall Street today, stocks managed to eke out modest gains to end the week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added around 30 points. The Nasdaq tacked on more than 90 points, or about 0.5%. The S&P 500 ended just barely in positive territory. Still to come on the News Hour, David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart weigh in on the week's political headlines. A nurse reflects on the struggles of the COVID pandemic 5 years later. And musicians push back on the amount of money they get from streaming services.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.